Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to look at maternal depression and anxiety disorders and child development, and this was a Manitoba population-based study. So the three research questions was, does MDAD have an impact on child development measured at school entry? What aspect of maternal depression and anxiety disorder, timing, recurrence, or severity is most strongly associated with child development? And do health at birth and family contexts mediate the relationship between maternal depression and anxiety disorder and child development? And so the methods that were used was they pulled administrative data from several health and social databases in Manitoba, and they looked at 18,331 mother-child pairs. So the maternal depression over the period from 1 year prior to the child's birth to the kindergarten year was defined using physician diagnosis and filled prescriptions. So I guess that was over a period of 6 years that was looked at. And the only issue I had with them looking at how often the mom went in to see her doctor and get prescriptions filled is I guess they're leaving out a small portion of the population that may have not been seeking treatment for their depression. So that portion of the population may have been left out of the study, which might have changed the results. Child development was assessed during the kindergarten year using the early development instrument, which measures vulnerability across the 5 domains of development. And structural equation modeling was used to examine associations between the timing, recurrence, and severity. So that was the 3 things that they were measuring. And the 5 areas of child development that they looked at was physical health and well-being, social competence, emotional maturity, language and cognitive development, and communication skills and general knowledge. So their objective was to examine the association between maternal depression and anxiety disorders and child development assessed during the kindergarten year. Exposure to maternal depression and anxiety disorders has been shown to have a negative influence on child development in infancy, early childhood, and at school entry, and is associated with poor birth outcomes, elevated stress response, negative temperament, social, emotional, and behavioral problems, impaired cognitive performance, and compromised physical health. So these are a lot of influences. Maternal depression and anxiety disorder had a modest negative association with the child EDI scores across all models tested, particularly looking at the social, emotional, and their physical development. Prenatal maternal depression and anxiety had a stronger negative association with outcomes than other time periods. However, recurrent MDAD had a stronger negative association with outcomes than any specific time period or severity. So the number of time periods a child was exposed to the maternal depression in early childhood was more negatively associated with the 5 areas of child development than timing or severity. The familial context, looking at teen mother, lone parenthood, and low SES, had a stronger influence on child outcomes than the maternal depression and anxiety disorder. So the association between maternal depression and anxiety and family context was positive across all time periods. This relationship was stronger for recurrent MDAD and severity, suggesting that the family context may be vulnerable where maternal depression and anxiety disorder is present, particularly if recurrent or severe. Certain factors that can increase a woman's risk of developing maternal depression and anxiety disorder, and the risk factor at the top of the list is living in a low socioeconomic strata. This umbrella term is used by economists and psychologists, and it encompasses more than just having a low income. It also includes not having completed high school or higher education and employment status, so not having a job or only working part-time, as well as increased likelihood of raising a child alone. So here we're seeing the financial and social supports that are missing that are definitely having an effect. School readiness has been identified as a multi-dimensional concept that includes language, cognitive development, social competence, emotional maturity, physical health, and communication skills and general knowledge. So children who are not ready for learning at school entry are more likely to repeat grades and receive remedial and special education services. where children with good verbal, social, and attention skills are more likely to perform better in school than children without these skills. And then the gaps present at kindergarten do tend to widen over time. This is why it is so important for preventative measures to be put in place to catch these things early on. So they used a conceptual model, and basically its three key sets of mediating mechanisms are situated along the pathway between the maternal depression and the child adjustment problems, and they look at biological, which is health at birth, the psychosocial, attachment and family functioning, and then again the social capital, which is the income and social resources, which played a really large role in this. And so here's the two models, was the prenatal period before the child was born, and then the postnatal period. Health at birth was negatively associated with EDI outcomes across all models tested, particularly for physical health. MDAD reoccurrence had a stronger negative association with child outcomes than any time period or severity, suggesting that prolonged or recurrent exposure to the mom's depression had a stronger influence on school readiness at kindergarten than of timing or exposure. The strongest negative associations were found for the social, emotional, and physical domains. So in conclusion, the findings demonstrated that the maternal depression and anxiety disorder was negatively associated with at least 3 areas of child development for all the models tested. However, the maternal depression had reoccurrence had a stronger negative association with the outcomes than either the timing or severity. So how often the mom was depressed around the child affected them the most. This study found that challenges faced in the family context, so the teen mother, lone parent, low SES, had a much stronger relationship with child development scores and mediated some of the relationship between the maternal depression and anxiety disorders and the EDI scores. So it has been suggested that recurrent or persistent maternal depression and anxiety disorder is more detrimental to a child outcomes at school entry than other features, such as timing or severity, because it may be the length of exposure rather than timing is most critical. And prolonged depression or anxiety may interfere with the mom's ability to respond to a child sensitively and consistently over time. And those are things that the child needs to develop properly. About 15% to 23% of women worldwide experience anxiety during pregnancy, while 15% deal with anxiety after childbirth. Depression through pregnancy is estimated to affect 10% of women, and 15% face postpartum depression. The burden is greater for women who are experiencing poverty or are teen parents. So again, we're looking at the structural issues. Just 1 second here. Perinatal difficulties are often overlooked, and many women do not seek help because they think that is expected, that mothers feel down, tired, or worried, or because they are concerned about the stigma related to mental health. Staying connected with supportive family, friends, and other mothers is also important, as is doing activities that bring you joy and regularly practicing self-care, whether it involves going for a walk or other exercises, reading a book, speaking to a friend, relaxation, or simply catching up on some sleep. If difficulties are recognized and help is sought, this risk may be reduced, potentially leading to improved health and well-being outcomes for both mother and child. So that's why it's so important to look at these things early on before the child even gets to the school age years. And that's it. So thank you so much for joining me, and the questions will be on the discussion board. Take care. Bye.